Ibn Battuta, one of the most famous medieval explorers, was born on February 24, 1304, in Tangier, Morocco, into a family of Islamic legal scholars. His father, a prominent scholar, was a member of the Berber Lawata tribe. This family background laid the foundation for his later career as a scholar and judge. Ibn Battuta was educated in the Maliki school of jurisprudence, which was dominant in North Africa at the time. This education shaped his future, as his travels were often intertwined with his role as a religious judge, which earned him positions in various courts across the Islamic world. His travels were not just motivated by a thirst for adventure, but also by a desire to deepen his understanding of Islam. Ibn Battuta began his travels in 1325 with the intention of completing the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. Along the way, he explored Egypt, noting the grandeur of Alexandria and Cairo. He was fascinated by the region's vibrant trade and Islamic scholarship. After reaching Mecca, he chose not to return home and instead continued his journey through Iraq, Persia, Yemen, and East Africa, including the Swahili coast. Battuta ventured into India and China during his later travels. In India, he served as a judge, Qadi, under the Sultan of Delhi, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. However, his time there was tumultuous, as political instability led to a dangerous diplomatic mission to China, during which his ship was wrecked. His visit to the Yuan dynasty in China highlighted his fascination with their advanced infrastructure and cultural practices, though some scholars debate whether he visited all the regions he described firsthand. One of Ibn Battuta's most significant journeys was to the Mali Empire, where he visited the prosperous city of Timbuktu. He marveled at the region's wealth, the power of Mansa Musa's successors, and the strict adherence to Islamic law. His accounts offer valuable insights into the interconnectedness of medieval Africa with the broader Islamic world. Ibn Battuta relied on a variety of methods to traverse such vast distances. He traveled by camel caravans across the deserts, took ships along maritime routes, and used donkeys or horses in less accessible areas. His mobility was supported by the generosity of rulers and merchants, as well as his own skills as a scholar and diplomat. He often received gifts, accommodations, or appointments, such as his role as Qadi, which facilitated his ability to travel and live comfortably. Throughout his travels, he witnessed a variety of events. One of the major historical events Ibn Battuta observed was the outbreak of the Black Death in the early 14th century, which devastated much of the Islamic world. He describes seeing the impacts of the plague firsthand as he traveled through Egypt and Syria, witnessing entire cities and towns being wiped out by the disease. His accounts offer valuable insights into the social and economic consequences of the pandemic, which claimed millions of lives across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Ibn Battuta's extensive travels allowed him to document regions that were largely unknown to most of the Muslim world at the time, such as West Africa. His encounter with the Mali Empire, where he was shocked by the practice of public display by women and the wealth of the empire's capital, demonstrated his critical stance on practices he found contrary to Islamic principles. His journey through the Sahara and his documentation of life along the trans-Saharan trade routes also helped illuminate the commercial exchanges that shaped the African continent during the medieval period. Through his detailed travel accounts, Ibn Battuta contributed to a greater understanding of the cultural, social, and political dynamics across a wide swath of the medieval world. His works remain one of the most important primary sources of the time, offering unparalleled insight into the Islamic world and beyond. Ibn Battuta's later years were marked by a shift from a life of adventurous travels to one of relative stability in his home country, Morocco. After completing his extensive travels, he returned to Morocco in 1354, where he began recounting his journeys to a scholar named Ibn Juzay, who compiled his experiences into a famous travelogue, the Rihla. This work became a valuable historical document, offering insight into the cultures and places Ibn Battuta encountered during his journeys across much of the Islamic world and beyond. In his later years, Ibn Battuta assumed a more settled role, resuming his position as a Qadi in Morocco. His career as a judge had been part of his travels, and he had served in various regions, including Delhi and the Maldives. However, after years of traveling, he spent his final years in Morocco, where he likely lived in relative obscurity after the publication of the Rihla. Though the exact details of his death are unclear, it is believed he died around 1368 or 1369. His legacy, however, endured through the travel writings, which became a critical source of knowledge about the medieval world. Ibn Battuta's travels, spanning about 75,000 miles and including visiting to over 40 countries, captured the imagination of both contemporary and later generations, particularly for his detailed observations on social, cultural, and political conditions across the Islamic world. His lasting impact on society, both during and after his lifetime, is profound. His travelogue, Rihla, remains one of the most valuable historical sources from the medieval Islamic world, providing a unique insight into the cultures, societies, and lands he visited. His extensive travels bridged numerous cultures and religious divides, particularly within the Islamic world, as he explored places like China, India, Southeast Asia, and Africa, contributing to both the Islamic and global understandings of geography and history. His contributions were not just the dissemination of knowledge. His journeys were not just about exploration, but also about learning and sharing wisdom. As he visited courts, schools, and scholars across the Islamic world, he documented educational practices and customs, greatly influencing Islamic education by promoting cross-cultural exchanges and the spread of Islamic law, culture, and practices. This helped shape educational and intellectual traditions in regions such as India, Africa, and even parts of Europe. His travels also left a lasting impact on trade and global connections through his interactions in regions like the Indian Ocean and the Sahara. He became one of the extensive trade networks that linked the diverse parts of the world. His accounts of the bustling markets and vibrant commerce in cities such as Cairo, Delhi, and Timbuktu not only provided insights into the economic systems of these areas, but also highlighted the interconnectedness of the medieval world. In the modern era, Ibn Battuta's travels have inspired countless explorers and scholars. His detailed observations of the places he visited have been used by historians and geographers to understand medieval society, politics, and culture. His Rihla continues to be a critical resource in the study of Islamic history, geography, and literature. It has influenced modern Islamic thought by showcasing the value of education, cross-cultural learning, and the pursuit of knowledge. His legacy is honored in various ways today, from landmarks named after him to educational programs that emphasize his exploration and scholarship. Ibn Battuta's example reminds us of the power of travel, not only as a form of adventure, but as a means to bridge cultures and share knowledge across generations. His life's work continues to inspire those who seek to understand and connect with the world beyond their borders.